rogue.
Okay, well, welcome back. Always great to have
Thank you.
And I can't even imagine, being in David Cronenberg's world must be a very cool place to be.
Very much so. The kind of thing I've always wanted to do. I like his movies a lot. And there's not a whole lot of guys that I am always thinking, boy, I wish I could work with that guy. So I like his world. It's fun.
Yeah, and what's it like entering it? You get here, you were shooting Rock of Ages at the same time.
Yeah.
You get here, you have this quite the monologue there, Paul. So how do you wrap your mind around not just that, the character, but just working with Cronenberg?
Being with him?
Yeah,
but he's one of those guys you instantly sense, he puts you at ease anyway because he's such a nice guy. I mean, he's a really down-to-earth, normal guy. And then when you get there, he's worked with these guys, all of these guys, for like 30 years or something. I mean, they've done most of these guys have done all of his movies. So it's one of those things where you walk into it, there's no tension or nerves or anything because these guys are so familiar with what's going on. He's so familiar with them. There's just total ease. So the atmosphere is incredibly calm.
Yeah.
So that immediately calms you down.
Yeah, I would think you kind of need that for a film like this.
Yeah, you do. For something like this, it really helped because it was nerve-wracking, this scene, because, it's long. And it's long.
It's you and
Robert. It's the climax of the movie, too. So you're like, this has got to work. Because if this doesn't work, then the whole movie really doesn't work in some way.
Well, it worked.
Good,
I mean, was it hard for you to wrap your mind around this guy, where he was coming from? Did you have to give him
some of the stuff? Yeah, some of the stuff is kind of, I wasn't sure, and it's even like weird things like the towel on my head and I keep asking for a cigarette. It was the weird little things like that were actually harder than some of the other things, But then I have some of the stuff. No, in a way, it's like he's talking about really basic anxieties. He's talking about just not feeling like you fit in the world. And why am I me? Or why are you and I'm me? Why do you get to be you and why do I have to be me? And so it's like, it's a pretty basic kind of anxiety.
Stuff we're all feeling.
It is stuff everybody's feeling, which is what I think is kind of cool about that scene in a way. Even though the guy's nuts and nobody would actually say this stuff, he does, But it was, it was just the length of it in a lot of ways is what was hard.
Yeah, it was very much like theater.
Very much like a play. Yeah.
Being there and then
which is cool. I don't think he shied away from shooting it like that too, which was cool. He let you see things were moving back and forth. It was very static in lots of ways. It was great, I thought.
Did you do that all in one take?
No. I mean, he actually sort of jokingly said after we first blocked it through, maybe we would shoot it all in one take, which would have been kind of cool. There were large chunks of it that were one take and one setup.
Yeah.
And sometimes just one or two takes. But it's only, everything you see in that movie is all he shot. There was nothing extra that he shot.
Yeah.
Every angle of it, that's all he did. So that's kind of a ballsy thing to do as a director with something that long.
I would say, yeah. Working opposite someone like Robert Pattinson with his, his background, his fan base and everything, all the baggage that he has to bring to set. And yet he just was great in this role.
He's amazing in it. And I never sensed this was a guy with baggage, with all that stuff. He's remarkably cool and normal, with all the baggage that he has. I didn't know anything about him, really, and I just met him pretty much the first day we started shooting.
I pegged you as a Twilight fan. Come on.
I'm not against that kind of thing at all. I just never caught them. Yeah. I didn't catch them, but that's the kind of thing, actually, I could totally enjoy.
Yeah.
So at some point, I'd like to see him.
Oh, you will. I'm
sure
fun
I
stuff.
will. It'll be unavoidable, I'm sure.
It is fun stuff.
I'm sure.
What was your impressions of him? Like, what impressed you about him initially when you started to work with him?
Well, I didn't really talk to him very much. I didn't get much of a chance or anything like that. So what impressed me was his level of preparedness and comfort with really difficult language and stuff, and he was very right in the character. And, he was way more loose than I was the first time we sat down and kind of run through it. And thank God, because he calmed me down. And I was just impressed. He seemed completely in control.
Wow. And
I was like, oh, good. So I can relax. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. And in some ways, I can take some cues off of him.
Yeah.
So I just let him do his thing. He was great.
It was great. You guys are really good together.
Yeah,
okay, changing gears a little. Rock of Ages. I just saw it, and
yes.
Oh my God, lots of fun.
Good times.
And you play the sleazebag agent for Tom Cruise's character. I mean, you guys were great. I have to ask you, working with a baboon, seriously?
I don't know. The baboon, like, I don't know. I think it was Cruise's idea to have the baboon. It wasn't in the script. And then all of a sudden there was this baboon. Yeah, the baboon was tricky, you know, and everybody was like, oh, you're going to be really scared of the baboon. And I was like, I've worked with monkeys before. And I was like, they brought the baboon in, and the problem was the baboon was actually scared of me. Okay. And so the baboon was supposed to do all this, and he wouldn't come near me, and he wouldn't touch me, and it was just like, oh, the neurotic baboon.
Yeah, he just like patted you on the head.
He wouldn't hit me and stuff, and I was like, come on, hit me. And he was afraid of me. I think it was the ponytail. They thought it was actually the ponytail and the mustache. I looked like some kind of dominant baboon.
Not one of your better looks, I do have to say.
I like that look, though. Boy, do I love that look. It was just brilliant, that wig. That wig is genius.
Yeah, it was great. It was Tom Cruise. I mean, is there anything that man can't do?
Definitely not. No, sings amazingly.
Yeah.
And really does sing.
He was great. I mean, wow.
And the movement, everything, and the guy worked his ass off on that thing. He was amazing.
Yeah, the whole cast, really.
Yeah,
everybody, each person shocked me more and more. Russell Brand can sing. I mean,
yeah,
really,
he can totally sing too. They all could. All of them could sing.
Loads of fun.
Yeah.
Loads of fun. Yeah, I have to ask you, I mean, what I love so much about you, Paul, is like you just take such diverse things, whether it's a musical, whether it's this really intense stuff. We're going to see you in Romeo and Juliet. Mm-hmm. My God, like Shakespeare's words, really?
Yeah, sure.
How do you choose what you want to do at this point in your career?
I'm lucky I get a lot of different things that come to me, so I get to choose. But definitely I have a kind of eye I like all different kinds of things. I don't like to be bored. So I get to choose these things. I'm going to do, you know, a crazy musical comes along. I was like, sure, why not? And the director was like, I can't believe you agreed to do this. I was like, why wouldn't I? I mean, this is crazy, this movie. So I guess got to be interested, and I'm lucky I get to choose.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about doing the Shakespeare movie, because, do you find Shakespeare hard to...
Shakespeare is hard. This is a funny sort of version of Shakespeare. It's a weird adaptation of it, and it is Shakespeare to some extent, and some extent it's not, but Shakespeare's really hard. But actually, maybe on film it may be a little bit easier, because you don't have to fill a big space with it, so you can be a little bit more... smaller with it and stuff, but it is tricky though. It's tricky stuff.
Friar Lawrence, is that who you're playing?
Yeah, it's a great part.
One of my favorite Shakespeare plays.
That's a great play.
Yeah. And coming up too, are you working with Paul Rudd in a comedy?
I did a movie with Paul Rudd in New York called Lucky Dog, although I think the title changed, in which we play a Canadian Christmas tree salesman.
I was reading that, and I'm like, okay, where did the idea for this come from?
A woman who wrote it is a playwright named Melissa Gibson, who's a fantastic playwright, and she's Canadian. And she just, I don't know, she was like, I really want to write a thing about Canadian guys in New York, and it's a really, really great script.
Well, you've been here a lot, so did you talk to any of us Canadians to get into our mindset?
To get into the whole thing? I like you say, I've been here a lot, and I've absorbed it, and in some ways, this woman I know is very Canadian, and I think having spent a lot of time here was a good thing. It did help me.
Well, that's great stuff. Favorite Cronenberg film? Gotta know.
I like Dead Ringers, actually, a lot.